Welcome to the new Cyber Frontier, bringing you the latest news on the local Colorado economy and initiatives that focus on the development of cybersecurity economics. You don't have to be a computer or cybersecurity expert to get plugged in. Your host, Chris Gorog, brings it straightforward, asks the tough questions, and brings the cyber world to a level of understanding for everyone. Chris is personable and opens up with our guests on the issues we all would like to see addressed. You can find us on the web at www.newcyberfrontier.com. Now join our host as he introduces the topic for today's new Cyber Frontier.
Hello, this is Abe Thompson coming to you from SecureSet here in Colorado Springs on the new Cyber Frontier, preeminent cybersecurity podcast throughout not just the state, the nation, but the world. In fact, Chris was telling me we had 13,000 of you interested last month, so that's exciting. I am extremely blessed and privileged today to have on the show our guest, Ms. Darla Lindt. She is a cyber security insurance broker. Would that be the appropriate term?
Cyber insurance risk manager is the designation.
Yeah. Or Siren, as they call them, right?
Siren, yep.
Yep. So tell us a little bit about how you happened into not just the insurance component, but the risk management component in cybersecurity.
So one of the insurance pieces that I offer in my agency is cyber liability insurance. Mm-hmm. It's a unique insurance coverage. It's designed specifically for cyber attacks. And so I really had to delve into the full aspect of cyber.
Sure.
And why we offer this policy, what it does. And so I just ended up learning and understanding by being with, in front of people like you and your experience and many others in the cybersecurity world, just learning what companies need and how the insurance plays a part in that. So it's just been a learning experience.
Well, and it's very rapidly become an essential component of doing business. The cybersecurity insurance piece. And I remember how excited I was when I heard that's what you were doing, because I've been in and around this industry, of course, in the government, and then here at the schoolhouse. And I said, wow, that's a component that my students need to be aware of, because when they graduate from SecureSet and they go off to do these great things, they're going to be educating their C-suite, right? And I want them to know about what you do.
It's a huge, it's the transfer piece of risk management. So
Sure.
You do everything you can to mitigate your risk.
Right.
And then at the end you transfer it.
Sure.
In hopes that nothing bad happens.
Yeah.
But if something does, you have a safety net.
Now, I don't know if in your industry you actually use the term, but we often say not if, but when.
When.
Yeah. and I know that's something that we need folks to understand and believe. And so, but prior to that, you were in just straight insurance products, and what types of things have you done leading up?
Leading up to cyber, I was very involved in commercial insurance, providing insurance coverage for businesses, which lended great to cyber insurance. It's another part of their insurance package that they need. My agency does do personal lines as well, home and auto and your boat, your motorcycle,
Right.
All your toys. We do work we specialize more in the high value homes.
Sure.
Working with carriers like AIG and Chubb and Pure that kind of cover that niche client. Because we work in commercial, we're working with CEOs and executives, and that's their need.
Yeah. Well, those principles clearly have carried over.
Definitely.
Or have you found yourself needing to ramp up in certain areas as you've attacked this area of the insurance market?
There's definitely been a need to understand cybersecurity as a whole. Very different from, a general liability. I do need to know a company's basic function and nature of their business.
Sure.
But with cybersecurity or cyber insurance, it's very much different. I do need to work with cybersecurity professionals who are mitigating that risk. So I understand what they've already done. And even in the application process, we have to answer those questions. And I'm not a cybersecurity professional, so I have to rely on folks like that to help even answer some of the questions on an application.
And so basically in principle then, as you go forward with that application to various carriers, you're almost like not an attorney, but an advocate for your customers so you can get the product?
Very much so. Yeah, as an advisor, My number one concern is my client.
Sure.
I have hundreds of different carriers that I can go to for policies.
Sure.
I have the ones that I work best with.
Right.
But my care and concern is for the client.
Excellent, and that's where we all want to be in this industry. Now, a big thing on my heart, and I know Chris shares this, is this idea of cybersecurity community. And so I'd like to ask you a couple questions about that as here once we return from our sponsor break.
We'll be right back with the rest of today's show right after these brief messages from our sponsors. Cyber Resilience Institute helps build strong cyber communities designed to prevent members from attack. Like building a neighborhood watch, it takes coordination and a sharing community to protect our identities and valuables in the virtual world. Typically, we hear that organizations know they need to do something to protect their cyber assets, but don't know where to begin. Let Cyber Resilience Institute help your community create an action plan. Cyber Resilience Institute will build your community or business marketplace so that it is designed to support a collective cyber defense. Contact them for more information at cyberresilienceinstitute.org.
And we're back with New Cyber Frontier. My name is Abe Thompson. I'm hosting from SecureSet here in Colorado Springs, and I have the privilege of speaking with Ms. Darla Lindt here, a cyber risk manager for her insurance agency. Darla, we were just talking about this idea of community and how excited I am to kind of have you in the cybersecurity community here because of the real and relevant component that insurance products bring. What have you seen of the cybersecurity community here in Colorado Springs or in general since you've kind of joined us?
Well, I've seen just the utmost professional people, knowledgeable, experienced, and wanting to truly tackle the threat problem that we have and understand it and figure out how to bring some continuity to what the needs are, for business owners.
Have you noticed a rapid growth rate in need for this aspect of insurance here recently?
It's catching on.
Okay.
I think there's still some misconceptions about cyber insurance.
Sure.
Such as, well, I don't have personal identifiable information or anything like that, so I don't really need that.
Really?
It does so much more than that. And so there's a lot of misconceptions that, maybe my general liability policy, covers that, so I'm good. There's data privacy coverage on there.
Right.
There are some misconceptions really where the industry's at right now. Fortune 500 companies and above, they get it. They have to have it. You see industries mandating it now. It's not mandated by the government. But in banking, if you want to get a commercial loan, you need a cybersecurity plan and a cyber insurance policy in place.
Well, that's good. Certainly good for your industry, but also just prudent, right?
Yeah.
And now, speaking of these misconceptions, we talked with you earlier about what you see as major industry problem. It seems that there are some of those standard cliches or statements that people make, like, "Oh, it'll never happen to me," or "It's too expensive." How have you hit some of those head on with wisdom as opposed to those misconceptions?
Stories tell a lot. Stories sell, and it's really helping people understand that it can happen to you, and it does happen, and share some stories of folks that it has happened to, and even making it relative to their own situation. Many of us have gone through fire claims, hail claims, auto accident claims. It's not a matter of if it will happen, it's when.
Right.
And then what are you going to do with that? And so making it real.
Sure. And not just for the sense of making a buck. Obviously, we're all in business, and it's important to move things forward. But it's you're really bringing truth to the market, and this is an area where people need to be protected. How do you articulate to them the varying levels of severity of the threat? How do you speak about the severity of the threat to your customers?
Again, you have to make it their reality.
Sure.
So let's talk about your company. If your company were breached, if there was an attack, if there was ransomware, if there was a denial of service, if your intellectual property was stolen, how much would that cost you? What is your hourly revenue generation for your industry, for your company? You should know those numbers. And if you were shut down for 8 hours, 10 hours, or 24 hours, what would that cost you if you had to hire a lawyer? So when you're asking those questions, you're helping them put themselves in that position of, what am I going to do if this happens?
Well, in retrospect, certainly, Yahoo and these others, they know the cost. And we often work with our students in terms of enhancing a cybersecurity culture. One of the things they often have to bring to leadership is this notion of spending money in a profit loss area.
Yes.
Right? And they often get the eye rolls from C-suite folks because they're not necessarily making a profit by spending money in cybersecurity, but in reality
they are.
They positively are.
They're saving a tremendous amount of money, and you can make that relative to your home insurance or your auto insurance.
Sure. And I think the storytelling for you is very real because you yourself are a very successful business owner and you've operated in the business space. So how do the folks out here that are listening to you as a business owner, not just a cyber risk manager, how do they benefit from kind of what you've been through and what you know?
I actually am on both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
In insurance, I have the most sensitive information that my clients, for my clients.
Yeah.
I know their date of birth, their social security number, their driver's license number. I know the percentage of tile, carpet, and hardwood floors they have. So I know the most sensitive data, so I have a responsibility to protect that. So I understand that responsibility. And then on the cyber insurance risk manager side, I understand how to help business owners grasp that, paying for a cyber insurance policy is much, much more economical than paying out the pocket for
starting your business over.
Starting over or ending your business. And when you think about how long it's taken to build a business and how much blood, sweat, and tears and money it has taken, that's what you don't want to lose.
Yeah, indeed. Now, there's a very real reality that I think more and more people are aware of because it's hit the news so effectively is what's happening in Europe with this new legislation, the GDPR. So how has that changed your modus operandus, your way of working with clients?
The insurance industry responded immediately to the GDPR because we do have clients. I have clients in Europe.
Sure.
They work in Europe and they live here.
Okay.
So it's another level of security for the client, for the individual, and I think it should be. And so we've already seen measures taken in the insurance industry, and my company specifically, TWFG, has taken measures to comply with GDPR.
So what did you do sort of on a personal, professional level to get smart on GDPR? Where did you find the best resources?
So it's great to work with cybersecurity experts who have been watching GDPR, who have been watching the progress and the implementation of it. I myself have read through it, so it's very beneficial to just do your homework. And look, I tell people this all the time: if I can do this, anybody can do this. I'm a grandma. I'm a grandma. I understand. I didn't grow up with technology, so I have to read a little bit more and try to understand a little bit more and make sure that I'm doing my due diligence.
Well, and while you don't in the least look like a grandma, you definitely provide hope for those of us in the industry. One of the things I found with students and others is there's a very significant confidence gap, as in, man, I could never get into this industry, I'm not smart enough, I couldn't do it, and yet they prove to themselves over and over and over again they can. And that's where community comes in too.
Yes.
Both in, we were on the Colorado Springs Cybersecurity Meetup on meetup.com, we all come together, it's not just about whose business is doing better, it's how are we moving forward as a community, but we also in the classroom training a cohort model. So we learn together, grow together, and when these guys graduate, they go out into the world and have each other for life as colleagues.
all over the country, all over the globe.
And he's the smart guy on Python, and he's the smart guy on RMF, and et cetera, et cetera. And so that's a great component we have in the community. So let's put this in the, because not all of our listeners are necessarily deep technology in the cybersecurity realm. How do they put skin on this idea of taking personal responsibility for insuring themselves? What's a good example?
That's a good question. I just start taking steps.
Okay.
Ask questions. Find, in cybersecurity, if you believe that you need to have somebody look at your network, find 3 cybersecurity professionals and interview them and ask them questions and learn and educate yourself.
Sure.
And then ask those questions and then take some steps. So put one foot in front of the other.
Sure.
And you're going to learn as you go along. You do not have to wrap your brain around all of it all at one time. And that's one thing that's
one step at a time.
One step at a time. It's been very reassuring to me. How do we eat an elephant one bite at a time?
Indeed. Let's take a quick break and go to our sponsors, and we'll get back to this in just a moment.
We'll be right back with the rest of today's show right after these brief messages from our sponsors. Over 3 million data breaches happen every single day. That's over 2,000 records being compromised every minute. So often, we focus on securing web data access. But what if the attackers are already inside, having gained direct access to your storage through data management software? When it comes to communications that go directly into your storage devices, make SNIA your first line of protection. SNIA's conformance testing limits outdated communications that are known to be used by attackers. It works continuously behind the background to make sure your storage is protected. To find out if your data is truly secure, visit our website at www.snia.org/cybertest.
And we're back at New Cyber Frontier. My name is Abe Thompson, and we're recording from the Secure Set campus here in Colorado Springs. And I have with me Ms. Darla Lindt. We were talking about personal responsibility, and I know you'd said before, just like when we get behind the wheel of a car, we're taking responsibility to make sure everything's ready to go, everything's safe, everything's in place. And so it's really not that hard to get to a logical decision about insuring yourself in the cyberspace. But the loss is different, isn't it? What's the significance of the difference between a traditional insurance product and cybersecurity insurance?
Well, with a cyber attack, it could put you out of business.
Yeah.
If it puts you out of business, it puts a lot of people out of work. The ripple effect is massive.
Yeah.
Yes, if you get behind the wheel of a car and there's an accident, it could be catastrophic.
Yeah.
There's losses in both scenarios. There's losses in the cyber attack, area. It can be not necessarily 100% preventable,
Sure.
but you can defray those costs. You can minimize the impact, just like you would mitigate the trees around your home.
Right.
You're mitigating the risk around your business. When
Sure.
you open that door, you unlock that door to your business every day, you're putting yourself, your company, your employees, and your clients at risk.
Yeah.
But there's a way to minimize it, and there's a reasonable, sensible way to minimize that risk.
Well, and if a burger joint, for instance, burns down, people are still going to eat a hamburger when they rebuild, right? But if you lose the confidence and trust of your clients, consumers, and customers in the cyberspace, you may never recover. Is that true?
The PR part of it, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Your public image. I think we all have a tainted image of some of the large companies who've been breached. And that, I do not think you can put a monetary value on. There is a monetary value. There's
Sure.
a tremendous amount of loss to them.
Yeah.
But that reputational harm is really, really difficult to put a value on. And it's difficult to rebuild from that.
Sure. And again, case by case, right? It's going to be the credibility that existed before, and perhaps the level of prudence shown in the types of cyber products and whatnot. What are your recommendations in terms of like a 1, 2, 3 self-start in this area?
again, I think it goes back to just start educating yourself, start asking questions, seek out some different cyber professionals and those in insurance, and ask those pertinent questions. Cyber insurance is not a transactional insurance. There needs to be lengthy discussions and conversations and not lengthy applications, but find a trusted advisor that would really take the time to understand the nature of your business and how you're at risk.
Sure. Well, and just in the same way too, I think back, having just moved again, in the multitude of those moves in my lifetime, the other questions they ask, like you want to know about what specific things have value to me, what unusual valuable items I have, and it's really no simplistic one size fits all, that's for sure. And if someone tries to do it that way, I would assume that would lose my confidence. And so
yeah, there are dozens of carriers that offer cyber insurance, and there are dozens of different kinds of policies. The exclusions are what you really want to pay attention to. What does that policy cover? But more importantly, what does it exclude?
Well, indeed. And I think things like that probably do start a lot of people wringing their hands. And so they're wringing their hands rather than acting. How do they get over that?
Just take the step. Just do it. Okay. Just do it.
Yeah.
It is my motto. You're gonna weed it out. You're gonna be able to flesh that out and understand. Ask questions. Get a little bit educated. We all should be educated on our home and auto policies and those,
sure,
and our general liability policy to a certain degree anyway. Yeah. Your cyber insurance, I would be more diligent in understanding what it covers and what it doesn't, and what scenarios is it not going to. I believe firmly that any policy that I, as an advisor, put in place should do its job.
Sure.
In the time that there's a loss.
So here's a very real question in that regard. Obviously, I know you, and just for the listening audience out here, you will not find a woman of higher character, and it's been a blessing to know you in this community. But how would someone, maybe not as informed, how would they kind of sort of do additional research, even as they choose, say you, if they were to choose to use their cyber advisor, where else would they go to get educated so that they've done a balanced look?
So I did set up a website. It's cyberinsureme.co,
okay,
and it gives some very basic information about what the cyber policy covers.
Sure.
And then you can also reach out to me just for a deeper dive. I have no problems just answering questions.
Yeah.
Again, it's consultative, it's advisory. If we proceed through an application process, great. Even on the home front, I have realtors call me all the time and say, hey, here's a scenario. What do you think about this? And let's answer their questions. It doesn't have to always result in a sale.
Sure. Now, the thing we're insuring against when we consider this component of the cybersecurity industry, what are they? What are we insuring against? What's out there from your perspective? What threats?
Well, the cyber attacks vary. There's ransomware, denial of service attacks. There's theft of intellectual property. That's another thing that the cyber insurance policy covers that a lot of companies don't understand.
Yeah.
They have sensitive intellectual property, proprietary information, copyright information, and that's actually how cyber insurance got started. There was a need for a coverage for theft of intellectual property and fraud and things like that. And so your information sometimes is maybe not valuable to the attacker, but it's valuable to you.
Sure.
It's important to you. And so, and what they choose to do with that, it's about making money, but you can insure your business to protect.
One of the best sort of references in that space that I've heard, and I love this, was the concept of intellectual capital. If you call it intellectual capital, you're talking about
something that's valuable
monetarily. And whether that's preserving it for the next generation, preserving that information, you think about it from the perspective of a songwriter or a writer. I mean, that's all you've got, right? That's all you've got, you know. And your canvas may not necessarily be, you know, a painting, but it's the information that you want to protect. And I even think of the nonprofit space. You know, we've got some big nonprofits here in town, like Compassion International and Focus on Family and others that do great things for the community. What types of, do you hear much from nonprofits at all, or do nonprofits should pursue cyber insurance, or should they?
They absolutely should. It's an area, it's an arena that's very, very much under attack.
Yeah.
And nonprofits don't realize that. And typically it is because it's for the perpetrator, it's low-hanging fruit.
Sure.
They don't, you know, it might be an area where that nonprofit has not invested in cybersecurity. Right. And so they're very vulnerable.
Sure.
It's just an easy target.
Well, all that donor data and everything else, and then for the ones that operate in other countries, you know, with you know, the Feeding the Children and some of these others, yeah, they're just exposed to even further threats, I would imagine. So you talked about sort of the proactive things that we insure against, you know, the cyber criminals and ransomware and theft. But what are the other threats inside of the industry, other than just the sort of the criminal element?
Internally, you know, you have employees who make mistakes, and that's normal. You have people inside who want to harm your business. You have competitors, so you don't. The threat doesn't always. It's not always a criminal out there trying to do harm to your. Some of them are just looking for an opportunity. And they're just in your system, just looking for that opportunity. But a lot of times we see it's just human error.
Well, and many people out there listening could be saying, well, I mean, no, we're not criminals. You know, nobody even knows I'm here. But in reality, there's just as much danger through accidental breach and accidental spillage, you know, data spillage and things like that.
One claim we had was actually a head of HR sent out some very sensitive. She sent out thousands of personal records to a couple of hiring candidates inadvertently, but a very large file with a lot of personal information. It was just a mistake. CEOs open phishing emails. You know, we hear that story often. You know, sometimes it's just a little thing. Somebody leaves a laptop in an Uber. Or they leave their cell phone somewhere, you know, and it has access to email.
Potential spillage, is all over the place, and I've lived in that world a lot, both government and otherwise. You are doing some other things in the community in terms of the cybersecurity industry. What are some other things you've been involved with locally?
So I've done a lot of presentations around international, you know, with just cyber insurance in general. That led me to the National Cyber Exchange. I do serve the exchange as a risk management consultant. We are bringing that insurance piece to the National Cyber Exchange. The exciting thing about NCX is it's a trusted source for cyber information, whether you're a parent wanting to just know how to keep your family secure, or if you're a CEO wanting to change the culture of your industry. We are launching an app and a forum that will essentially put alerts right in the palm of your hand and provide the training, awareness, and education that you need, whether you are a cyber citizen, a cyber executive, or even a cyber pro.
I like that cyber citizen, because that really, with the exception of like maybe 2 or 3 Luddites up in the mountains and my great-grandma, the rest of us are cyber citizens, right?
Most definitely. And actually we see seniors attacked all the time.
Of course. And just like, you know, a lot of, you know, you just get your blood boiling when you think that often seniors are the target of, you know, the traditional attacks and now these cyber attacks. So National Cyber Exchange, is there some sort of, is there a website that you'd want to give folks out there so they know about this resource?
Yes, you can go to nationalcyber.org. and you can just kind of peruse around there and find out a little bit about the organization. You can find out about the operations team. We do offer a very steep discounted IDSF protection. That's just phenomenal what it does. It's not a monitoring company. It is truly a restoration company.
Oh, nice.
Just a lot of great information, and you can learn how to download the apps.
Sure. Well, that's a good word too, restoration. Because what it indicates is it's possible. Because I think some would sit on this side of it and say, oh, there's no recovery. But in reality, it is possible, and there are ways to do it.
One of the things that we say in insurance is that the policy is designed to make you whole again. Whatever you've lost, it is designed to make you whole again. If it's written right by the right advisor, just that. Yeah. Same with identity theft. If you have the right one, it is designed to make you whole again.
Excellent. You mentioned the cyber readiness test. How are companies doing out there in terms of that cyber readiness test?
Hiscox did a cyber readiness test globally, and I don't remember how many companies they tested, but 7 out of 10 did not score very well for cyber readiness.
As an educator, 7 out of 10 would indicate that we've got some work to do.
We've got some work to do, and again, it's a matter of getting started, putting one foot in front of the other. Oftentimes we think it's too big a mountain to climb, so we just don't do it. How many times do we put off the hard thing till last? And then we do it and we find out, wow, that only took me 15 minutes. It's really not as hard as we probably have in our mind to get started and get in the right direction.
Well, it's good to remove that shroud for folks, because there's plenty of stuff that we sit on and wring our heads about. Tell us one more time, Darla, name of your agency.
So my agency is Darla Lindt & Associates. I'm a branch owner of TWFG Insurance Services.
And how do we find you on the web?
So my website is www.twfg/Darla Lindt. And then my phone number is 719-622-6182.
Sounds good. Well, ladies and gentlemen out there on the new Cyber Frontier listening audience, it's been a delight to have Ms. Darla Lindt here with me. She's a friend and colleague here in Colorado Springs in the cybersecurity discipline. Darla, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Abe. I appreciate it.
All right. You've been listening to the new Cyber Frontier. I'm Dave Thompson, your host, recording from the Secure Set campus here in Colorado Springs. Take care.
The views or opinions expressed during this podcast are not those of Colorado Technical University.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of New Cyber Frontier. Remember to get involved. Often we think that someone else will handle privacy and security in the virtual world, but you are the only one truly in command of your virtual fate. Join our mailing list so we can keep you informed of breaking news and new releases. If you have an idea, if you have a question that you would like to hear answered, or if you want to get involved with our efforts, reach out to us at newcyberfrontier.com. We also encourage you to visit our sponsors' links, as they are the ones that really make this show possible. I want to thank each of you for supporting the show, and we look forward to seeing you back for the next episode of New Cyber Frontier.